There we go. Hey guys, how's everybody doing today? Just before we kick things off, it's going to be unfortunately, we have the chat off to the right. You guys can talk amongst yourselves, but we're going to keep you all muted just so that I can go ahead and get through this without being interrupted at all. Just for introductions, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Blake. I'm the community manager here at PolySwarm, and this here is Steve Laskowski.
Pleasure to meet you all.
Okay, so point of what we're doing here today is we want to talk about a lot of the cool things that we got to do while we were out in Black Hat. And I'm the one to be asking the questions because I unfortunately did not get to go this year. But it's Vegas is a bit of its own demon. It's really hot out there, and it's a cool place. Black Hat's an excellent conference, excellent opportunity for us to meet with our clients, potential prospects, just everybody that's in the game. And so we're going to hear from Steve today a little bit about how it went.
So we're actually wearing some of the swag we gave out at the conference itself. So we have I'm sporting the white Kangol hat, and Blake has the black one. Very well received this year. We were going to give out T-shirts, but a lot of times people don't wear T-shirts. And of course in Vegas, if you are going to be going outside and going to pool parties, having a hat to wear kind of comes in handy a bit. So folks are very excited about that. We also have, I think many of you have also seen, is our blockchain. This was Blake's idea, a block with the name PolySwarm on here and a gold chain in the background. So that was actually pretty cool. A lot of people really enjoyed that. And one of the things we did this year was I brought our dog out, Bronte. So Bronte's a 9-year-old English Staffordshire Bull Terrier, or they call it English Staffies for short. And she was at our meetings. She was hanging out at the hotel lobbies, getting pet. And we even had a blockchain around her. So anyway, we look forward to kind of updating you all on what we saw, what we heard, what we did at Black Hat. So, Blake, you're the MC. Hit me with a question.
All right. Well, to kick things off, what was the vibe like this year at Black Hat compared to others?
Yeah, this year was just a lot different the last 2 years. I mean, obviously there was a Black Hat last year, but right when they were doing it, about a week or two before, there was a COVID uptick, and they actually had a mask mandate in Vegas a week before. And I think a lot of people went there from a corporate point of view. Their companies didn't feel comfortable sending an employee to an event where there was going to be COVID. So a lot of companies backed out last minute. So anyway, this year it was much different. It was packed. I mean, Vegas was packed in general. All the flights coming out were booked solid. And in fact, some of the problems we heard from some people that were supposed to come out was that their flights were canceled and everything was so booked they weren't going to be able to get a flight for the next 48 to 36 hours, and they just didn't come out. But overall, as I say, everything was very, very crowded, and there was a lot of people in attendance this year. I think some of the differences also in Black Hat was a bit more the geopolitical focus. As many of you probably understand, in our business, there's 3 types of adversaries. You have state-sponsored actors, which are typically, in our particular case, we deal a lot with is Iran, China, and North Korea, the big 3 in that particular space, as well as China in that, And then you also have cyber criminals, which do it for the money, but very often have some connections with the state actors. Then you have hacktivists in there a bit. There was much more of a geopolitical focus this year, and that's not, doesn't really surprise anybody because of the Ukraine-Russia war that's been going on, especially Ukraine and Russia both have very good cyber capabilities. Taiwan and China, I mean, obviously a week and a half before Senator Pelosi was over in Taiwan, there was a bit of ruckus going on back and forth, not only military, but from a cyber point of view. The other thing I thought was very interesting was there was a lot of talk about misinformation and election fraud going on, much more so than the past. And I'll talk about that a bit more in the past. Another thing I thought was kind of interesting was typically they always have guest speakers or keynotes. This year, there was a lot of coming from government or ex-government officials. Usually there might be like a CEO of a company and so forth, but this year was many more government officials in there. And they actually had Krebs on board too, which was not Brian Krebs, but Chris Krebs. And he was primarily able to talk without having a government censure on his part. So his was a very interesting speak. I think another thing was, for Black Hat typically is a 3-day affair, but this year they shrunk it down to 2 days. And then right after Black Hat, there's an event called DEF CON. Basically what ended up happening was that I think a lot of people this year typically go to Black Hat and they leave before DEF CON starts. There was a much higher percentage of people this year that stayed for DEF CON after Black Hat in there a bit. So that's just a couple takeaways from Black Hat DEF CON this year.
Well, it's pretty interesting to hear, getting up and getting busy again. I know in previous years that you can't even find a hotel room half the time if you're trying to book a month out. So.
And I tell you what, Vegas is expensive now. Everything was packed. Hotels were $400, $500, $600 a night, where in the past you can get away with $250, $300. Every place you eat's expensive. Every place was packed. So I guess from an economy point of view, it's good to see the crowds there, but you can definitely understand where inflation's coming from too. It's so much more expensive. Yeah.
All right. Well, then I guess for our listeners, can you give us a quick overview of the difference in the crowd that attends Black Hats versus the crowds that attend DEF CON?
Yeah, traditionally Black Hat is much more of a corporate event. It's more suits and the enterprise side. And quite frankly, Black Hat's a lot more expensive to go to. So to get a pass at Black Hat, I'm not sure what the cost was this year, but it's typically somewhere between $2,000 to $3,000 a person to get inside, to hear the talks, to go to the vendor rooms and so forth. So it's people that are going there on behalf of an organization. It's not many people going there on their own dime in the end. And typically they talk about how to defend the enterprise or how to be how to work better within your organization. There's a lot of conversations on that. DEF CON has traditionally been more the hacker types, presentations on how to hack things and so forth in there. So that's where there's been two kind of different sectors in there a bit. But one of the things that we're seeing now is it's kind of blending together a bit. I think there was the big thing about ransomware was, of course, a very big topic on both sides of the fence. And the idea of understanding what's behind the motivation with the folks in ransomware, the economic models and so forth. There's very interesting pitches on that at DEF CON itself, where traditionally that would have just been a Black Hat version. And also, Black Hat is trying to be a little more technical too. So those are kind of blurring together. And I think they used to compete a little bit. Now they seem to kind of work very well together in the end.
Okay, very cool. Did we come away with a long list of clients and prospects?
Yeah, we did actually, and we basically, we meet with two types of folks, right? We look at people who basically use our intelligence internally. And one of the analogies I often make, and it's funny because, the people that were in our meetings with us, so we had our CEO, Steve Laskowski was there, Ben Schmidt, who's our chief security officer. We also had Patricia Schuker. We had Mike Anderson, excuse me, I keep calling him Alexander because I have a friend that way. Mike Anderson was there, and Amit was there as well too. So typically, I like to equate malware is very similar to seafood. The fresher it is, the more you can do with it, the safer it is. So it's kind of explaining to folks that how basically we're like a fishmonger, that's the term they use in England, or fish distributor. So we have relationships with all these fishing fleets around the globe. We bring the fish in very quickly into our factory. What we do is we flay it, we identify the type of fish it is. Maybe a certain type of fish, we might do a deeper inspection, like a DNA test on it. And what we do with that is we basically sell it to two types of people. We sell it to restaurants, which would be like OEM partners, and they make a meal out of it. They'll build a service or a product on top of our fish or malware intelligence. And we also sell it to what I would call sophisticated chefs who cook their own meals. And this could be people like, we talked before, like a Verizon, like a Microsoft, like a Bank of America, Citibank, and so forth in there. So we have kind of two different groups we sell to. And it's about 50% right now, both sides in there a bit. We had a lot of meetings with our partners, and the partners, which you guys have probably heard before, is Anomaly. We also kicked off a new relationship with Silo Breaker that's going deeper than we had in the past. We're very excited about that from a customer reach as well as a revenue point of view. Threat Quotient, Microsoft, which is very exciting for us, and they're excited about our relationship, and also Cyware themselves. So we had a number of meetings, and they brought customers in there to introduce them to us, which really gives us scale. So we don't have to continue to build our sales force in order to grow our sales. We obviously will do that, but these partnerships bring business into us. We don't mention customers' names due to the mutual confidentiality agreements we typically sign with the client when we start engaging with them at the end. However, due to the meetings at Black Hat that we were able to put together, I'm expecting we're going to close over $1 million worth of business in the next 3 months, which is just astronomical. And the whole team right now is just, heads down, chuckered full of follow up, and we call POCs, which is a proof of concept. So it was a really great show for us. And we also got a lot of momentum with our partners that are continuing to bring us more opportunities as well.
All right, so $1 million. Wow, that's the first time I'm hearing this number. So that's cool. That's cool to find it out. Find it out same like them. So then I guess we met with a lot of potential clients, customers, as well as our partners, like you were saying. What was the general vibe with these guys while we were out there?
Yeah, it's interesting, Blake. The vibe was very upbeat, especially considering the recent declines in the stock market, inflation, the geopolitical situation, and so forth out there. So I'm not sure if that was just people actually finally getting together with all their friends and actually going out and going to a conference of this nature, because this is one of the largest conferences that basically pertain to security and cyber in that particular area. Budgets seem to be holding up pretty well. That was one of my big concerns when I went out there is, companies are starting to be a little nervous, and typically when they cut budgets, they cut budgets across a whole area. So they'll say, okay, this is a 10% headcount, but every department's losing 10%, or 10% of a budget, every department does that. And cyber seems to be holding up very well. And I think a lot of that is obviously due to the ransomware issue that continues to be on the forefront of everybody's mind, as well as the geopolitical situation right now, where I would say probably 90% of the people there were U.S. corporations, and the U.S. corporations are concerned about the blowback in regards to what we're doing in Taiwan right now as one of our allies, and how we're supporting the Ukraine there a bit. So, it felt much better than I thought it was going to at the end. I think there is a feeling that people have these budgets that they want to spend it now because they're kind of a bit concerned if there is going to be budget cuts later in the year due to the Fed increasing interest rates or slow down their respective line of business. So I think there is the feeling that people want to make decisions and want to spend and commit that money now before it potentially might go away. And a lot of people are very excited to see how the company has expanded because we are a marketplace model. On the one side we have all these samples coming in. On the other side of the model, we have all these engines and the researcher engines that are analyzing all these samples. And on the third side is our customers today, our customers in the restaurants absorbing our malware intelligence or our seafood in there a bit, and that's the other side of it. So obviously marketplaces take a while to expand, and I really feel that we've kind of really hit that over probably the last 6 months. We'll have a lot of samples, a lot of engines, and a lot of customers that are asking for this as a particular service. So we've really kind of grown our market share. And the nice thing about it, we compete a lot against Google, and Google owns a company called VirusTotal, but really Google owns Chronicle owns VirusTotal. And a lot of folks are just kind of a little tired with VirusTotal for a number of different reasons in there as well.
Right. Okay. Well, then while we're on the topic of the marketplace, I know that the idea of PolySwarm and what we're doing has been around now for a while. Every time we go to one of these conferences, there's more and more people that recognize us, know about us at the very least. And I'm kind of curious, how is the reaction to people, and how are they reacting to finding out like how we're monetizing this marketplace?
Well, the interesting thing is I was surprised how many people come up to me and say, "Hey, I love your coin. I own Nectar," right? At the end of the day, and obviously it's a utility coin for us. We're not giving any financials information or forward-leading financials with respect to that. But a lot of people do own our coin today, and they love the idea that our industry, cyber threat intelligence, and even information security, a lot of the innovation has been built on the back of researchers. They come up with new ideas, and the company monetizes, and the company does very well, and the researcher gets a pat on the back. Maybe he or she gets to speak at Black Hat or DEF CON, get some free drinks, a free hotel room, but they're not really compensated for the things they come up with. So the idea of us paying or compensating them with our coin based on their performance, people like the idea of that. And also it's kind of like a friendly capitalism, because the better they do, the more money they can make within our marketplace. So it actually just kind of helps breed innovation. But at the same time, it helps reward people that also are going to bring new types of innovation into our marketplace. And the next thing samples we're going to be doing, next part we're going to be doing is compensating people that are bringing samples into our marketplace as well. So we compensate the engines for performance. Now we want to compensate the people bringing us those unique samples, because 20 to 30% of the stuff we have is not yet in virus total. And that's what customers really love about us. We keep saying we have fresher malware than other folks.
Yeah.
So that's our new term. We keep saying fresh. And that was the whole idea with the Kango hats and, old school rap, which was, more they use lingo being fresh and so forth. So hence that's what we kind of ran with over here at the end. And also the idea of a lot of our partners like the idea too. They like that the researchers getting paid well and that they're basically staying on the cutting edge of innovation, because this marketplace moves very fast and you always have to be basically updating the technology in order to be able to detect the new types of threats coming out there. So our partners love the idea also.
Right. So with our partners, like with respect to Anomaly, I understand that we're going to be offering some additional intelligence offerings, and I was wondering if you could expand on that.
Sure, Blake. Now, currently right now, we have two types of integrations with them. We have a feed integration, which I always joke about, that's being an extrovert. I'm going to tell you all these things I know that are kind of cool, and you may or may not be interested, but I'm going to tell you something you probably don't know yet. Then we have enrichments, in which you ask me a question, and if I have the answer, I give you a lot of detail about it. So we have a feed, which is kind of an extrovert that we have today, and we also have an enrichment integration within the Anomaly platform. And that's typically what we call hash-based. So it's not a particular file itself, and this is what the file looks like. Now, we're coming out with a new set of feeds that are going to be very complementary to the hashes. It's going to be IP and URL based. So these are going to be attributes of those files. And this is actually going to help broaden our horizon for our customers, because a hash-based feed is very good for traditional threat intel teams or threat analysts or an incident response team. But an IP URL feed, that actually can be used for the SOC, Security Operations Center, so they can kind of automate this process and automatically update their infrastructure, as well as they can also go hunting to see has any of this stuff happened within their infrastructure in the past. So you defend it going forward, then you also get a chance to look back to see if I have been infected. So we're really excited about that, bringing up those IP URL feeds. And we'll be offering those in there probably, it's going to be starting September 1st. And we also had a lot of positive feedback from Anomaly and Anomaly's customers to be able to do this, because this helps organizations respond at scale. The last thing we have going on with Anomaly is they have a new product which they call Match. And Match is kind of like an XDR hunting platform. So imagine this is where you put all your information of what's been happening with your security infrastructure, all the events that have been happening over a period of time. And this is when you want to go back in there and say, okay, I've recorded all this data. Is anything bad been happening? So you want to get new samples and you want to look back and say, has this occurred in my environment? And that's what an Anomaly Match is. And it's only the platform. It's not the endpoint. And you think of XDR, you think of CrowdStrike, you think of SentinelOne, you think of Microsoft Defender, and they sell the whole kit, the endpoint, the hunting environment, and the storage device itself. Match is going to be more just the storage area that they're going to go hunting in, and they're going to actually OEM our feed. So we're very excited. They're going to take our feed, rename it the Anomaly Match feed, and they're going to be selling that with every one of the Match implementations going forward. And Match is very strategic for Anomaly because they view that as the future of their growth, because they've been primarily a threat intel platform. And that market's growing in a certain stage, but it's not going at 50, 60%. And that's how they basically got into the business. But now they're using Match to leapfrog in order to really expand their revenue stream and their customer base.
All right, that's really cool. And I know that while we were at Black Hat, we had talked a little bit about our partnership with SiloBreaker and how we are basically kind of expanding and growing with them there. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure, Blake. So what we currently have with SiloBreaker, we actually have a relationship like this is we always start with a freemium model, because a freemium model gets their clients using us, it gets our name recognition, and we give them a bit of value. So typically what we'll do is, we track over, 90 different ransomware families, but we'll maybe give them 2 to 3 or 4, which they kind of get a taste of what our service is. So we had an existing freemium model with SiloBreaker, but now we're going to be offering a premium model, which is going to expand the coverage we have. And also we have a team internally that does analyst reports probably twice a week. So back to my seafood analogy, it's almost like imagine new recipes coming out with the seafood. So if I see something new, we have a team that kind of writes up, they're typically 2 pages long, and we get those to our customers and our partners. And our partners find these very valuable because it's what keeps their customers up to date on the latest and the greatest and things they're seeing, especially in the ransomware space, which of course is so rampant on top of mind in there a bit. So we're expanding the freemium offering within Silo Breaker. We're going to be having a number of upcoming sales campaigns and engagements around the globe with them to jointly target their customers. It's conferences that are coming up, as well as we're going to have some standalone events. And we're very excited about that because they're going to be bundling us in as a line item for every Silo Breaker opportunity going forward. So we'll share in the revenue what Silo Breaker is going to be going in there. Silo Breaker actually just got acquired by a private equity firm, and they were basically self-funded before. And so the great thing about this is now they have money to expand the organization. So they basically quadrupled their sales team in the past 3 months, and they're going to be adding more people going forward to take advantage of the opportunities they currently have today. And we're real excited to be partnered with the team.
That's excellent. That is excellent. One of the things that I am curious about is we've been doing this NectarNet beta now for quite some time. We've got over 1,000 people using the beta at this point. How was the reaction there at Black Hat when they were explained the idea of what we're doing with this beta?
You know, what was so funny was actually a number of people came back to me and they said, hey, I've already earned $20, $50, or the funny thing I saw, there was a number of families that are doing this as well too. So they have their kids set up using NectarNet. So that was really just very surprising how many people were using it and already knew about it. So really kind of NectarNet basically complements our coin, of course, which is Nectar 2. And it also it brings in a lot of telemetry data, which we're finding very useful. So it's kind of full circle. What we have our existing marketplace getting a lot of data on the samples we have coming in, but now we're able to use NectarNet and get existing more data that will be able to offer more valuable services for our customers. But a lot of people are very excited about it because, first of all, it helps compensate people. Back to the business model we said before, we compensate people for the value they bring to our marketplace. So if these end users are bringing value to our marketplace, we're compensating them as well for the work they've done, just like the researchers with their engines, just like the people that are providing us new samples in there a bit. So it's a very nice business model that a lot of folks like. And also by paying people for the work they do, you motivate them. So we get things faster, we get things that are more accurate, we get things quicker, we get things fresher at the end of the day. And that's the key to our business, is uniqueness and freshness. And if I could put both of those things together, which we're doing right now, it makes it a very, very compelling event for organizations in there a bit. So,
okay, very cool. All right, well then, I guess we've got a lot ahead of us still. We've definitely got a lot of stuff to build, a lot of places that we need to. It's a lot of markets we got to break into. What exactly would you like us to see improve on over the next year?
Well, listen, over the next year, primarily, we're going to continue to get our strategy that's in place. That's a great thing about this marketplace model is that, you know, it's kind of self-fulfilling, that model is, right? You know, we bring more people into the marketplace. We have a compensation model for this. We have a lot of momentum with our partnerships. I was surprised how many people know our name, which was really nice to know too. You know, it's, and, you know, I've been going to this with the PolySwarm a little over 3.5 years now. And just the name recognition is gone up exponentially over the last 6 months. And I'm feeling that with NectarNet right now, that's going to increase our name recognition in these partnerships we had. And one of the partnerships I didn't really, and I kind of just, it hit me a moment ago, I didn't talk about Microsoft. So we're building a integration with Microsoft Sentinel, which is part of their overall cyber and security initiatives for their customers. And we're very excited about that. Microsoft's excited about us coming into their marketplace. They are already a customer today. So we work with the digital crime unit within Microsoft, and they get basically the latest versions of ransomware and all the attributable information to help them basically combat ransomware through their internal teams as well as the relationships that Microsoft has with government agencies as well as police forces around the globe. So the idea that Microsoft's going to have a huge reach in this particular space. So one of the things, the challenges we're going to do is how do we take advantage of that relationship? How do we leverage that relationship today and expand that going forward? And I think one of the challenges we're going to have going forward is just continue to bring in the right people to the organization. We got a great team right now. They're really operating on all cylinders, but we need to expand the team. And we're spending a lot of time right now identifying great people to bring onto a great team.
Very cool. Thanks for sitting down and answering all my questions. It's definitely an exciting opportunity to get in front of the camera and have a more of a physical presence in front of all these guys. I've definitely I've known these guys for a long time, and I usually just talk to them through a computer. So this is a cool experience for me.
What we'll do going forward also is anytime we go to a conference, so the next conference we're probably going to be at is the Financial Services ISAC, which takes place in Madrid. What we can do is I can do a similar thing, and I'd say this is what I'm seeing and hearing from our financial services customers. And especially it's going to be a European side. So I can give you guys an update on, how the company is performing, but also what our customers are telling us. What are they seeing out there and how well we're engaging with them and how our messaging is coming across.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool to have more visibility on that.
Yeah, and I'm also interested to see how well NectarNet is working overseas too as well. So that'd be an update for you guys in that particular side. Okay. And if you guys obviously have any questions, this is the man you want to speak to right here. Blake is working very closely with the community, and we really we love having you guys on the line here. We love the momentum you guys are doing this. We love the communications back to us. So keep bringing this stuff to us. We'll continue to do our jobs, and keep you conforming all you guys in regards to what we have in plan and how we're implementing that.
All right, well, guys. Well, thanks for joining us all today. Just before we go, I'll be setting up information for you all to go ahead and covering the upcoming AMA for NectarNet. But thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you having all you guys here with us today.
Thanks, guys.